So hello everyone, and welcome to the Sustainable Agtech for Profitability Challenge webinar. We are excited to share this webinar with you today in collaboration with the Innovative Farmers Association of Ontario, as well as our funding partner, Farm Credit Canada. So here's a rundown of how today's session will go. We'll first start with some welcoming remarks, and then we'll provide an overview of the challenge partners. After that, we'll provide an overview of the Sustainable Agtech for Profitability Challenge. We'll go over some challenge key dates as well as the eligibility criteria. And then that'll be followed by an overview of the application process as well as the evaluations. And for the Q&A, we ask that you please use the raise hand function to ask your questions, or you can add your questions to the Q&A function. I guess you can also add them to the chat, but it's not preferable just in case we miss them. So before we get started, it's with gratitude and respect that I acknowledge the land on which Foresight operates are the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the First Nation, Inuit, and Métis peoples. And for myself, I'm joining from Salmon Arm, BC today, the traditional unceded territory of the Tsleil-Waututh. So here's our panel of speakers for today. We have Darren Sawyer, Manager of Venture Capital at Farm Credit Canada, Tori Waugh, Executive Director at Innovative Farmers Association of Ontario, and myself, Anissa Marshak, Program Manager of Innovation Challenges at Foresight. Foresight is Canada's clean tech innovation and adoption accelerator. And our big audacious goal is for Canada to be the first G7 country to reach net zero. We bring together partners to identify, commercialize, and adopt the clean technologies that are needed to address today's urgent climate challenges, and also support the transition to a green economy. And how we plan to get there is through collaboration and action-oriented support in these following areas. So through venture acceleration, where we support companies at different stages and sectors to accelerate, scale, and commercialize their technology solutions. Through innovation challenges, which is what we're here today for. And this is where we accelerate the adoption of clean tech. We work with regional and sector-specific ecosystems in which clean tech can thrive, connecting partners, including innovators, industry, investors, government, and academia, and also through knowledge sharing. So through our Innovation Challenge program, we support clean tech adoption by connecting industry and government partners with innovators to meet their climate targets. And for us, it's important to ensure that industry demands the technologies that we promote as well as accelerate. And our challenge program is a great way to ensure that innovation is market driven. So a brief overview of the challenge goal. The challenge is seeking solutions that improve decision making and analysis of field crop operations that promote soil health, biodiversity, profitability, as well as just overall sustainable management. So now I'm going to pass it over to Darren from Farm Credit Canada to provide a bit of background on FCC, their involvement with AgriNext program, as well as why the challenge is important to the Canadian agricultural sector. Over to you, Darren.
Great, thanks very much. Real pleasure to be here, and I hope that everybody's going to get a lot out of this information session, and stimulate and encourage a lot of applicants for this particular challenge. So for those of you who don't know, Farm Credit Canada is a federal crown corporation focused on supporting agriculture from coast to coast to coast. We have about a $50 billion loan portfolio, just over 80% of which is loans to people that grow a crop or milk a cow, but the remainder is loans to agribusiness and agri-food owners that either provide inputs to primary production or add value to the things that primary producers generate. We have just over 100,000 customers across the country, 2,300 employees in over 100 offices across the country with significant coverage all over. And for the past 20 years, we've also had a presence in the venture capital space. Up until the last 4 or 5 years ago, that presence was really investing in uh, venture capital funds managed by one fund manager. Over the last several years, we've expanded that. So now we have almost $600 million committed to venture capital funds that have a focus on Canadian agriculture. As a result of that, we have indirect ownership of over 80 agri-tech companies and agri-food companies through our fund managers across the country. And we're looking to do more. And so including the partnership with AgriNext to help stand that up, we are looking to add more value and to contribute to the Canadian ecosystem. And things like this challenge help in that effort. So our desire is to stimulate more innovation in the industry, but also to help that innovation be accepted and adopted, all for the benefit of being able to, help Canada punch at least at its weight, maybe above its weight, as it relates to providing food to the world. So thanks very much for this opportunity, and I'll turn it over back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm actually now going to turn it over to Tori to talk about IFAO.
Thank you. The Innovative Farmers Association of Ontario is a grassroots organization of some of Ontario's most innovative and progressive farmers across the landscape, sharing an interest in sustainability and profitability as a means of bringing agriculture forward and punching at or above its weight. The IFAO facilitates idea exchange and collaborates to test and develop innovation research questions and kind of any new areas of advancement that farmers think that they can improve upon in their operation. Next slide, please. For the background of this challenge, we wanted to see what was possible, and so aimed for kind of a broad umbrella with a little bit of a focus on soil health, it being so crucial, a real cornerstone to agricultural sustainability. So we're looking for solutions that enhance soil health and can lead to various positive impacts across environmental, social, and economic dimensions. Next slide, please. Thank you. We're really excited to provide a lot of kind of like high quality partnership related value to the winner of this challenge. We're really excited to kind of get our hands in there and support a bit of third-party validation of your technology. We have a kind of peer-reviewed like market feasibility assessment called the ADOPT model, where we can take a lot of helpful indicators to help you along the way and really get sales accelerated. Because we work hand in hand with farmers and are guided by farmers, we have huge capacity to support kind of farmer-led feasibility and agronomic assessments. And of course, we have an annual conference that we're very excited to platform good solutions at. So we have some sponsorship and speaking engagement opportunities at the 2025 conference, as well as kind of integration into our partnered podcast, Coffee and Combines, to feature your technology and target it directly to those first adopter farmers. Thank you. Yeah, so we're really excited to see what's possible and what's new on the horizon when it comes to environmental and financial sustainability. So we're shooting high because we believe in you. The top solution will be profitable for the average field crop farmer in Ontario. Sometimes it's a difficult challenge, but the reality that most farmers are facing is that a new solution has to be better than business as usual in a number of different realms. It should improve profitability and sustainability simultaneously, which working with natural systems is often kind of an easy case. And finally, it has to be feasible in the real world. So what I mean by that is it has to be kind of easily adapted into existing farm operations, and has to address the kind of uncertainties like the weather that farmers work with constantly. And I'll hand it over to you, Anissa.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tori. So yeah, now we're just going to kind of go over some of the challenge, some more challenge details or the challenge process. So here are the key dates for the challenge. The application submission is currently open and will remain open until May 17th. After the competition closes, there'll be an initial application screening, and which will we'll select, or we'll just review the application, for completeness, and then we'll turn them over to our review committee, who will select finalists, and the finalists will be announced in early June. Those finalists will then be invited to a pitch session near the end of June, and then following that pitch session, we will select a winner. And the winners will be announced in July. Thank you. So here's the eligibility criteria for the challenge. So you'll want to ensure that your technology solution has a TRL between 6 and 9, that the solution is applicable in a Canadian agricultural context, and that there are confirmed sales or near confirmed sales in Ontario. Next slide. So here's an overview of the application process, which is fairly straightforward. First, you'll need to go to the challenge website to access the link to the application form. Once you've completed the application form, you'll submit it and you'll receive a confirmation email indicating that the submission was successful. And just a little bit more detail on the review and evaluation process. So applicants whose submissions are well aligned with the challenge objectives, that fulfill the eligibility criteria and are completed all the required sections of the application will be presented to the review committee. As I mentioned, selected applicants will be invited to a pitch session where you'll be invited to explain your technology solution in detail. And the review committee will be made up of Innovative Farmers Association of Ontario members, as well as representatives from Farm Credit Canada. And then the most interesting solutions will be selected as the winner of the challenge. And as Tori already mentioned or touched on, the winners will receive farmer feasibility and agronomic assessment, an adoption and diffusion prediction assessment, as well as sponsorship and speaking opportunities at their annual Innovative Farming Conference. So finally, some tips for completing your application. So please ensure that you have fulfilled all the eligibility requirements. And also, please don't wait until the deadline to submit your application. There's always the risk of unexpected technical problems. We've seen this many times before. So that can impact when your submission is actually submitted. And just a note that the platform will automatically close at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So please do plan ahead. to give yourself some buffer room. Provide data to support any qualitative descriptions. Use clear language in the technical description of your technology. Also, feel free to explain any work that's been done to date that has contributed to the progress of your solution. And then, as always, please reach out for any challenge-related questions. The email is listed here, but I'll also drop it in the chat in case it's missed. Fantastic. So onto our Q&A portion. My colleague Nisha kindly reminded me that we don't have a Q&A session for this webinar, so please do add your questions to the chat or feel free to raise your hand. Rob, go ahead.
Thank you, Anissa. Just a question about what projects might be eligible. So it talks about decision-making and analysis. I'm wondering if products are eligible, like crop input products versus more tech solutions.
Yeah, crop input products would be available or eligible under this program. We don't have a lot of constraints. If it improves profitability and sustainability, it's in.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking my call. So you were mentioning that there may be more than one winners, or that's one question. Or the other question is there a monetary value for the challenge?
Yeah, great question. The intention is to choose one winner, but sometimes we get multiple solutions or applications submitted that are relevant, and we would like to also support those innovators in some way. But yeah, I guess the intention is one winner selected.
And then for the monetary value, like, is there a monetary value that will be given to the winner?
Over to Tori to explain a little bit more about the prize.
Sure. There's no monetary value. That's the short answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But you were mentioning that there was a sponsorship for the for the conference in 2025. Does that mean that the expenses will be paid for the winner and other than the speaking arrangement?
Yeah. Speaking arrangements and a booth at our conference will be covered. So that is kind of, equivalent to a $3,000 sponsorship.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And maybe if I could just step in for a moment, I think, Tori, I know that it was discussed on one slide there in terms of what the winner receives, but it might just be worthwhile to reiterate, in addition to the speaking engagement and the $3,000, sort of monetary equivalent, sort of what else is the benefit of participating in this and winning?
Yeah. So you speak at and exhibit at our conference. That's kind of like going to be your biggest high value exposure. Your kind of secondary value exposure is going to be like being featured in our Coffee and Combines podcast, which is, has a whole bunch of multimedia campaigns associated with it. So there will be a campaign featuring your technology. And then when it comes to kind of like third-party validation and like really getting behind your technology as vetting partners, we offer two different types of assessment. And one is kind of adoptability assessment, where we can we can tell you, with peer-reviewed research, like what your peak sales are likely to look like, how long it'll take you to get there, and then kind of the real bread and butter of that algorithm is we can tell you objectively the most sensitive factors to positively or negatively influence those outcomes. So it's like a little bit of sales guidance. The other assessment that we offer is a bit of a feasibility and agronomic assessment. So our research and demonstration coordinator works with farmers to kind of build an assessment of how, build an assessment and vet how well your technology fits into an active farm operation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tori. We have another question here in the chat. I'm currently beta testing a digital knowledge sharing community platform for small scale farmers. What if our scope is international?
Yeah, our answer to that would be, if Ontario is a part of that international scope, then it's eligible. The one thing that I would caution you to better define is what you mean by small scale farmers. The average farmer and the scale that we're looking for these technologies and solutions is scoped to the average field crop farm size for Ontario, which is roughly 1,000 acres.
Rick, over to you.
Hi, thanks for this webinar. Just a quick question. Will the members of IFAO or the members at the conference that Tori, you mentioned, will they have access to or be able to see all of the submissions or finalists or just the winner?
Yeah.
Just it's an exposure question, right?
The general members of the IFAO will be exposed to the winner only. However, our project review committee is predominantly farmers and agronomists. So all participants in the program will get some exposure with what we would consider to be the most highly engaged progressive farmers in our audience.
Great. Thanks, Tori. Rob.
You're muted, Rob.
Oh, sorry about that. Thanks for taking my second question. We're in terms of the eligibility criteria of sales efforts underway in Ontario, we're currently in the process for CFIA approval or certification of our biostimulant using seaweed. Takes about a year. So we're obviously focused on early adopters trials at the moment in Canada. We can't sell the product, but we are looking to, increase our exposure marketing. We are marketing, we're just not selling. Meantime, we're selling in the US because it's faster down there. But I just wanted to check if that would still be eligible.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I would say with any startup to run full speed at the end of your runway. Maybe CFIA will give you the green lights necessary in time. I think so in terms of kind of the amount of points or graduation of preference that we might allocate to this Ontario focus. It would be eligible, but I want to just be clear that it would be eligible, but it would be one of the aspects of your proposal that would make it less competitive than say like an Ontario-based company. And so I would just advise you to tell us a lot about your strengths in other areas.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So for me, okay. I'm assuming it's for me when you said
Yes.
go ahead.
Sorry,
Okay.
maybe I cut out there.
Yeah, so how many finalists will be there for pitching the ideas?
Typically, well, it really depends on the applications that we receive. But I would say around 3 to 5 we would select as finalists. And then, but yeah, again, if there's 6, gonna just, disqualify one. It's really about ensuring that we are supporting good innovation and good technology solutions.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Are there any other questions?
So if
Thank
we
you.
have any further questions, who is the best person to get in touch with?
You can contact me, and I'm just going to drop the email here in the chat. Also, if you'd like to access the challenge application, I've dropped the challenge website page in the chat as well, and that will link you to the application for you to fill out. But yes, please do feel free to reach out to myself at challenges@foresightcac.com with any questions.
Ron here, I come in late. Could it be all right for a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, one thing, I was supposed to have a meeting with Benita here on the 16th, but for some reason my technology just couldn't get up and running, but I apologize for that. But we worked I think it was 2020 with Foresight, or 21, and went through the whole launch program. And so we've been working on different things, been taking our exterminator to California and been doing a bunch of stuff here. We're kind of looking more now at the green thing and running it with batteries. So we're kind of going to launch another kind of a different approach. And that's why we applied to Foresight again to maybe go through their process one more time and get our pitch ready and all of those things. So far we haven't really needed any extra money, but we will sooner or later. And we're also looking at we have a partner that's looking at the immigration letter of support, that if we were working with Foresight, and Foresight has is one of the launches that can supply that. So we're also wondering how over the next few months if we can get a letter of support, because we do have some people that are ready to invest in us with that immigration program. So those are things that I'd like to kind of talk to you about in another forum maybe, but we do want to move ahead with Foresight again one more time.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think Benita is on the call, and I'll make a note here for her to follow up with you on those questions.
Yeah, it was the AgriNext launch, I think, is what she was looking at, and that's kind of what we were looking at too. So
fantastic. She leads the AgriNext program, so she would be the perfect person to talk to you.
Thank you.
No problem. We have one more question. Would technology for nutrient recovery in soil be of interest?
I want to make sure that I understand really well what the question is here. I think that you mean like technology that improves nutrient cycling in soil, but maybe you mean another thing. So before I answer, would you care to elaborate?
I'm not sure who the person on the iPhone. If you could provide a bit more context to your question, we could better address it.
That person is muted. So if he or she is speaking, we may not be able to hear that person.
Well, I will speak to like nutrient cycling and maybe iPhone user. If you can type into the chat to confirm whether or not I'm on the right track with what you mean by nutrient recovery. It would be much appreciated. So nutrient cycling and kind of any means of improving nutrient use efficiency in plants, reducing nitrogen or nutrient losses. Those are going to be, easily classic sustainability and profitability outcomes. They'd be really strong. So technology that improves nutrient cycling in soils would certainly be eligible.
All right, we'll see if they pop on with any other comments about that question. I'll go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Thank you for taking my question again. So you were mentioning that we're located in Ottawa, in Ontario, so that qualifies us, but we don't have any sales at this point, although we have 3 clients who may, who are willing to be the first adopters. So would we qualify? Like, we don't have any revenue at this point. We have a prototype, we have an MVP, minimum viable product, but we haven't proven it in a greenhouse scenario at this point, and we don't have any sales. Would we qualify to apply?
Is your intended end use in greenhouse operations?
Yes. We're actually capturing carbon dioxide from ambient air to provide it to greenhouses. So sustainability is a big issue there. And also we will be doing it at a lower cost to the greenhouses than what they're paying for the carbon dioxide that they're generating by burning fossil fuels. So it will help their bottom line as well as the sustainability as well as the climate, because we're removing carbon dioxide from ambient air.
Sounds like a really cool technology. I will say though that the focus of this innovation challenge is on field crop farms.
Oh, not greenhouses?
No.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you for clarifying this. You will save me a lot of time.
Yeah. No problem.
Just one question here from Ron. I'm here again. Like our steam technology is for field crops, and we've been using it in lettuce in Arizona, potatoes, and other crops here in Saskatchewan, but we're not in Ontario. But I mean, it will end up there sooner or later. So I wonder if there would be even a place for us in this. even though it's Ontario?
Yeah, I would say if you have intention to sell in Ontario, if that's one of the areas that are scoped out for expansion, then we're all about putting you in front of those first adopters, and certainly have a lot of beet farmers and a lot of kind of emerging needs for alternatives for weed pressure, especially in southern Ontario, where the majority of our farmers do come from. So I would definitely encourage you to apply.
Okay, yeah, we're going to, like, our smaller machines are going to be more for vineyards and orchards and vegetables to start with. We made a big one to use, but that's more for Western Canada. But anyway, and they're more affordable, and we can make those all run on battery technology. So we're talking with a company out of Salmon about our batteries also. So anyway, yeah, this is exciting stuff. We just can't wait to get started. I wish we could just go and do it, but we got to go through all these hoops first. But appreciate it. Thanks.
Technology that we are currently using is we help farmers, carrot farmers, potato farmers with the their water that washes their produce. So what we do is filter it, and we take out the nutrients that can either be reused for composting, re-put back in their soil. It also allows them to use their wastewater over and over again for the same purpose. Like we're reducing how much water it requires for washing of the vegetables, because we all know that everyone, when they go to the grocery store, wants very pretty looking, not dirty vegetables. And people aren't aware of how much water this requires. So that is what our technology is.
Yeah, I think that's, another great technology, and one that I've been kind of seeing all sorts of different solutions work their way through the Holland Marsh in the last 5 years. But again, I would advise you that the focus of this project is field crops. So, in past years, we've worked with companies that have started with a hort focus and moved and had the capacity and interest to adapt their technology for field crop operations. And that's something that we can absolutely support. And there's, the added benefits of collaborating with some of the organizations in the hort sector. And so if in your R&D you're kind of exploring like other applications of your technology, which like technically I struggle to wrap my head around, like if there would be equivalents for field crops, but yeah. If the only application is in wash water, then I would say that it's largely not going to be applied to field croppers.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And just so that everyone is aware, we will be sharing this recording with everyone who registered for this webinar today. And I think with that, if there's no other questions, I wish you all a wonderful day, and please reach out with any other challenge-related questions.